I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll admit it. I was wrong about sidestep guides. At first, well, if you don't know what a sidestep guide even is, in previous Tekkens, people will put together charts to give you how you should sidestep a particular character. Okay, this is the one on display right here. It was made by Greek God 88. It's a beautiful, beautiful chart. And initially, I saw this on Twitter, and I was reading Brawl Pro's reply, and I heavily agreed with it at first. He said, these charts might not help new players as you'd think. These characters have key moves that help their weak side. Just Jack, for example, you'll end up eating down forward 2s unless you're sidestep blocking every single time. Azucena, he mentions while running 3-2, etc., etc. Step moves, not characters. And I agree with this philosophy. As a pretty serious tournament player, it is a trap for sure to think that you can just step one character one direction. However, I got a bunch of replies that really started to change my mind. Let me zoom in here. It really was this one. It really helps intermediate players more than you'd think. When I was learning to sidestep in Tekken 7, I didn't have the knowledge or time to lab against every single character and their key moves. Sidestep charts allowed me to try sidestepping in-game, and when I got clipped, I understood to sidestep the other way. And that flipped a switch in my mind, right? I saw this, and immediately, it made me reconsider my position, right? I quote tweeted it. I'm trying to get to the quote tweet here. Let me get through my Twitter here. But basically, I see the value in that. I used to have... We're going to go off tangent. I'm going to talk about this sidestep thing for sure. So if you don't care about this intro, you can skip ahead. There's a timestamp below. But I thought back to like math teachers. And sometimes they wouldn't teach you like by the theory at first. Right? They would just teach you examples, a bunch of examples. Calculus is great for this. In high school, just examples, 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 and eventually you started to understand it. And once you understood it, then they could go into the specific exceptions. Then they could go into the proofs, and because you had more experience, it made more sense. So when I thought of it that way, I think these sidestep guides are really good. I'll link it in the description. Again, Greek God 88 put this together. But before you go out and just use it, I want to talk about it a little bit. I want to talk about why they're good, why they're bad, and ultimately, are they worth using? Fun answers up ahead. Let's check this out. So I have the game open here. As you can see, I have Reyna on the left. That's me. Asuka on the right. Let's take a look at these situations and try and apply this sidestep guide. Okay, let's try and put it to use. So if we refer to the sidestep guide, first of all, you'll see that Asuka is sidestep right. Okay, Asuka is sidestep to the right. So let's keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as we go back to the game. And I think we're ready here. Cool. So I've already gone into practice mode. I've set the training mode to defense and recorded a bunch of options, okay? I'm going to list them out here on the right. And instead of going one by one, I'm just going to drop them all at once. Okay. I'm going to drop all of these examples right here. Bagoosh. Okay. Check these out. Sorry, I have an extra browser that's in my way. Okay. When we're using the sidestep charts, how I recorded these is I recorded by first having Asuka jab and then do the move. The thing about sidestepping in Tekken is that it's very timing dependent. If you sidestep too late, you'll get hit. If you sidestep too early, well, you'll use up your evasion and get hit anyways. So it's very timing specific. We use the jab to kind of set a reference point. This basically means as soon as we both recover from the block stun, then we can start sidestepping, okay? So I'll input my sidestep right after blocking the jab. The jab is plus, or Asuka's jab is -2, so this is a bit of a weird example. But as you can see, in this situation, I have enough frames to move away. Okay, so Asuka down forward 1, we step to the right, right? Pretty straightforward. I don't even have to do a sidestep right block. If you look at my inputs on the left-hand side over here, sorry, it's over there. I'm just doing tap down. You can see there I stepped a bit late. If I just tap down, I sidestep. Usually when we sidestep, we want to input back after. But as you can see, this can also affect our evasion a little bit. So sometimes we'll do a sidestep back. Sometimes we'll just do an empty sidestep. And sometimes we'll do a side walk to get more distance. And the interesting thing about Asuka's down forward 1 here that I'm learning right now is you have to either walk and then block or do this neutral sidestep. But if you try to just sidestep block, it might clip you sometimes. Interesting tracking property, but the sidestep chart holds. Let's look at the next example. Don't dwell too long on one. Back 4, common Asuka tool. And if you step a bit late, you can see it does track you still, right? But if I block the jab and step right away, I get around it. Okay, pretty good. If I step left, it tracks me. So we can see that the sidestep chart is doing a great job. And if I go through each example really quickly here, you'll see that it pretty much holds up pretty well. This is down 1+2, one of her key lows. Launch punishable on block, but the reason we sidestep in the first place is to cover multiple options. This is a low, right? And normally in Tekken, we guess between mids and lows, right? If I'm ducking, she can hit me mid. And if I'm standing, she can hit me low, right? Sidestepping allows us to nullify both options if we know the timing and the set of moves they'll choose. And luckily for Asuka, most of them are sidestep right. Let's look at another move here. Asuka's back 3. This is an interesting case because you could step it both ways. I was off axis there. There we go. So the chart is still relevant here. It says sidestep right even though both work. Cool. Let's keep it moving here. Let's look at Asuka down back 3. This is a key low she has. And we're going to go through other characters as well in the rest of this. Not all of them, but some key examples to show. If I step right, I evade it. If I step left, I get hit. Reset it just to be sure. Yep. There we go. The reason I'm resetting is because sometimes after you've sidestepped, the axis is off, right? Like, I'm going to step right here after I block this. And look at Asuka's position. She's still slightly off axis. So that's why I do a full reset to test again. All right. So far, this sidestep chart is looking pretty good, right? Like, it's doing everything it says it would. Asuka sidestep right. Pretty nice. Well, a common thing in Tekken, which Brawl Pro mentioned, is that there are exceptions. So the first exception I want to cover is down back 1-2. When I have Asuka do this move, if I step right, it will track me sometimes. Again, timing dependent, frame dependent, but this move has decent tracking unless you have a godlike sidestep timing, which it appears I have godlike sidestep timing. This move generally has decent tracking. As you can see, you can beat it to the right. But situationally, it will also track you. So I consider this an exception because you can't just blindly sidestep right and beat it every single time. Come on, Asuka, I need you to cooperate. That's insane. Well, we're going to put this... Oh, there we go. Look at that. So sometimes you have to sidewalk. Sometimes you have to sidestep block. It's an exception, I think, because it's not reliable all the time, and I'm going to talk about why that's important and why sidestep charts are bad. But here's one exception. Here's another exception. This one is a bit more relevant. You'll see this move a lot more often, and it is a key move of Asuka's. This is her up forward 3. This is a really good move. It's a mid. She jumps, so it'll go over lows, and if your low is slow, she'll counter hit launch you, okay? This one tracks to the right, like, cleanly, right? Like, I'm stepping to the right, it tracks me. Maybe I can sidewalk it? Yeah, you can sidewalk it. But if you go for this sidestep right block, it'll still clip you. So this move I consider an exception, and it's completely stepped easily to the left, right? So this is a key exception for Asuka. Why this might matter is, say you're doing something like you're answering her down 1+2, and you want to launch it. You do a sidestep right down forward 2, right? Usually when you do this kind of thing, you have to be pretty fast. Looks like Reina has to do a hop kick because her down forward 2 doesn't launch crouch. So you usually put the button in early. But if Asuka chooses to do this counter hit move, and I sidestep hit a button, I get counter hit, right? Because not only does it track me that way, I'm hitting a button. What? That was incredible. Reina's the god. Goddess, I guess. But look at that. So you'll get counter hit for attempting your punish if you go for that. So that's why the exceptions kind of matter a lot. But I still consider this not a big deal. And the reason why is because with this, I was talking about math teachers earlier, and I think there is a big benefit to establishing a structure and then establishing exceptions, right? So the sidestep chart gives you an initial structure, so you can immediately start trying it out in your games. And assuming your timing is good, you'll see these exceptions come up and be like, oh, okay, I can't step there. I can't do that. Here's another example of an exception. Asuka does forward 4. This is a bit more clear than the other options because it's a homing move. You can see the blue trails coming off her foot. That indicates a homing move. It means you can't step it in any direction. So as a player, if you're trying the sidestep option, you can pay attention to what's hitting you and immediately account for that as, oh, this is an exception to the general rule. And that's what makes this method pretty good for the vast majority of players. And that's why people use it. And if you were a supporter, you probably already get that. So let's go into the next section. Why are sidestep charts bad? And I use bad a bit broadly here. It's not horrible, right? The sidestep charts aren't horrible, but it's important to understand the drawbacks with these sidestep charts, okay? Why sidestep charts are bad. There's a potential for a big point of confusion. There's one big point of confusion, and it's, did I mess up my sidestep timing or did I mess up the direction? Remember that sidestep timing is super, super tight in this game, and in a real match, you're moving around a lot. You're not jabbing on block and then always sidestepping after. Sometimes you're trying to step a move in the open. Okay, and all Asuka has to do to make this a bit harder is to forward dash. Forward dashing not only delays your timing, we call it realignment, right? If in Tekken, when you attack, your character has a brief moment where they will lock on. This isn't literally what happens in the code. This is just how you could think of it as a player. So if I pull up first, as an example, her immediate down back 3, it should be this move. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, should be this move. Let's see. Her immediate down back 3, I can step pretty cleanly, right? But you'll see that if I delay my sidestep even a little bit, it tracks me. Wow, you can actually delay it a lot, right? So if I'm not stepping at the moment of activation, I lose that benefit of dodging the attack, right? Asuka does the attack, she locks on, figuratively, and then I sidestep. If she delays the timing with this dash and I sidestep early, then this lock on will follow me, right? Wow, Reina's step is really good. There we go. I'm stepping at the timing that I would expect her to attack. She forward dashes to follow me. Do you see that? I'm stepping, but she follows me because of the forward dash. Some characters' moves do this a little better than others. As you can see, Asuka's down back 3 has really poor tracking. So even though she's forward dashing, sometimes I can still avoid it. But other characters will have moves that track a lot better off of delayed timings or dash realignment. So this creates a point of confusion because, as I wrote in the text there, a new player might not know if they're messing up. Like, did they pick the wrong direction? Is this an exception? Or are they just messing up the timing? Are they doing the sidestep at a bad timing? Right? So I can step because I know the timing of a sidestep in general, like mechanically. But if you don't know, you might step like this and be like, why is this hitting me? I'm sidestepping, and sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. How do I know if I'm doing it right or not? And that's the danger. The sidestep chart doesn't teach you the timing. To be fair, nothing really does. Like if you read a graph of every single sidestep direction, that wouldn't either. But the sidestep, I think, at the sidestep chart, like if you ask somebody, which way do I step Asuka? They say right. And then you start doing this and failing, you might be missing that key component. I've harped on that enough. But basically, that's something to really, really keep in mind. Is that you can mess up the timing, but be going the right way. That's one danger. The other danger I consider a bit more short term. I think that eventually the longer a sidestep chart exists, the more accurate it will get. However, sometimes a sidestep chart is just wrong. And an example here, this is not to call out Greek God 88. He put together a great, graphic. He probably did some work to consult with other players. So this is not to, harp on his efforts. But Azucena says sidestep right. And I've listed a bunch of moves below that are key Azucena moves that you will see a lot. And almost all of them are not sidestep right. Let's look at the game. Right here. I'm going to record these moves. I have to do it fresh because the practice settings aren't saved. Hopefully they can add that feature. Again, I'm going to add the jab as a reference frame and then add the attack I'm going to step after. Right? We're going to record down forward 1-4. That was while running 3-2 we just did. I'm going to do jab down forward 2. And then let's see what's next. Jab up forward 4. And then we're going to do a different one here. The reference point is going to be a low that puts her into stance. And then the follow-up kick is what we're going to try to step, okay? So let's go through these one by one. I'm going to turn them off. All right. Down forward 1-4. The game says, or the chart says step it to the right. But you can see even if I do a sidestep right block really fast, I'm just getting hit. This is a move Azucena players use a lot. It's a jailing mid-high string, so I can't duck it if I block the first hit. That means if I want to evade it, I have to sidestep it at the first hit or not at all. And it's beaten by sidewalk to the left. All right, let's look at while running 3-2. Another huge Azucena move. +5 chip damage really locks you into this situation. What happens if I step right? Wow, that was incredible. You see it tracked me there? The mid actually hit. What's probably happening is I recorded it really late. But in an actual match, the reliable way to deal with this move is sidewalk to the left. Oh my god. This move is insane. Here, I can even take the jab and then do it. There we go. You can see it hitting me. I'll do one more effort to record it faster just to kind of nail the point home. Oops, not that. But in any case, if I can't get this recording perfectly, I'm playing on a pad right now, so I'm an arcade stick player normally. If I can't get this recording, understand that through in-game practice and training against actual players, this is better done with sidewalk to the left. And Reina is so evasive, she looks like she can even just sidestep. That's pretty good. Reina's sidestep seems to be pretty good. Small body, pretty evasive. Let's move on to the next example. Azucena down forward 2. Sidestep right can sometimes evade. But there are other situations, especially if she's throwing out as like a neutral timing, in a neutral timing, where you can get clipped, even with the block. I personally find the sidewalk left even more reliable, especially because if you remember, the whole point of sidewalking is to cover multiple options. This is a really interesting situation that's happening right here. You see how if we're perfectly on axis at the start, I can walk it to the left. But if we hit on this off-axis situation, it will sometimes clip me. There's also a range component to tracking, which I didn't mention. Sometimes you can step a character really easily up close and really it's much harder to step them from far away, and vice versa. So, although that's not the chart's fault necessarily, I think that this is something that you'll have to acquire through both experience and practice mode. And that I don't think that can be avoided. So that's not a straight up fault of the chart for not mentioning that. It's too much information to put down. It's important to know. Next thing, Azucena's up forward 4. Tracks me if I step to the right. Sometimes. If I step right at the startup, it tracks me. But if I delay my sidestep, sometimes I'll evade it. Sidestepping in this game is generally better, but has these weird quirks. However, if I just go to the left, it's an easy dodge. Right? So, what did this... let's go through the last example. This one's pretty important. This is down back 3 into back turn 3. It's a huge low from Azucena. No matter how hard I sidewalk to the right, I cannot get around this. But it's pretty trivial with the sidewalk left. I actually get her back completely. Out under the punish. But you know what I mean. So all of these examples kind of show that the sidestep charts can be wrong. And yes, over time they'll be corrected. But even though we knew the correct direction, some of these were pretty hard to step, right? Like the down forward 2 is tracking me sometimes depending on range. The sidestep charts are not a catch-all. And even with this structure of doing like main options and exceptions, they can just sometimes be way off the mark. So be careful. Again, this is not shade at GreekGod88. It's great what he's doing for the community by even making the guide in the first place. The last danger is where I'll start to transition into whether or not we should use them or not. But the danger is we want to have threats and movesets in mind, not broad generalizations, okay? And the best example for this is Jack. I'm doing this on the fly. I haven't recorded this in advance, or planned this too carefully. But when you're fighting Jack in this game, you are more concerned with, regarding sidestepping, you're more concerned with what options he's trying to use than, oh, this is Jack, I should step this way. Let me explain. Forward 1, key mid, and down back 1, key low, okay? And then finally, down forward 2 is another key mid, straight up launcher. Turn this off, go these 1 by 1. All right, if he's doing that, sidewalk to the left is pretty trivial. Sidewalk to the right can work, but as you can see here, oh, you have to walk no matter what. Sweet, this move is linear now. In Tekken 7, it was you had to step it to the left. But it looks like they made it linear, which is a nice buff. This is also a key low, down back 1 is walked to the left. But I'm pretty sure this will track to the right. Yeah. No matter what I do, even if I go really early, it will track me to the right. So if Jack is poking me up with lows, I want to go left. But if I get too comfortable going to the left, down forward 2 tracks me, and he gets a full launcher into a combo, right? So when I'm fighting Jack, when I pull up to a tournament pool or something, and I see Jack, I'm not thinking, oh, it's Jack, go left. There's an exception with down forward 2. No, I'm thinking, like, what is this player looking to do to me? Like, is the momentum of the game such that he wants to poke me down? Or is he seeing that I'm antsy and moving around? Is he looking for down forward 2? What story am I telling the opponent with my movement, right? It goes two ways. If I'm playing Jack and I see my opponent constantly moving to the left, I can tell they're afraid of my pokes, right? That gives me psychological knowledge, and I can use that either to delay my timing or just make a hard read with the down forward 2. So we as competitive players want to think about threats and movesets, not this character is stepped this way. So that's a great segue to my conclusion. Look at that. Sometimes doing things on the fly is quite beautiful, isn't it? Should you use these? I'm going to say mostly yes. For most players, these are really good. Sidestepping is kind of a complex topic, so at least narrowing it down to, you see this character, go this way, will help you learn timings, will help you learn how to pay attention to what options your opponents are choosing, and starting to recognize what to lab. Oh, I'm going the wrong direction for this one. I got to keep that in mind, right? That's a good thing. Again, we talked about the dangers. If you're the kind of player who is not able to spend a lot of time on the game, or you're having a bit of confusion with the game's mechanics, it might be overwhelming, and you might not understand, like, hey, why is this not working? Am I messing up the timing or the direction, right? I think that's probably the biggest one. Even if a chart is wrong, it can be corrected, but this will not be fixed unless you as the player are pretty studious. Let's look at a quick example. Brian. Many of his moves... Actually, let's just consult the chart. We don't got to make this up on the fly. Brian says sidestep right, okay? And because I have a decent amount of experience against Brian, I can immediately point to good moves to sidestep right. Back 1. Down forward 2. Right? He has some key pokes here that you step to the right. I wonder if you step right his down back 3 now. I don't think so. Down forward 2, yep. Pretty reliable. All right, do a different move, buddy. Come on. Yep, back 1 gets super evaded. And then down back 3 is tracking me, right? You see that? So, immediately I have an exception with down back 3. And there are a few more. Down 4. This one is, in Tekken 7, it was homing. I think this game, it's only one direction. Let's see. Yep, so I can walk it to the right. Can I step it to the right? Yeah, you can step it to the right too. So this one tracks to the left. And this is an important distinction to make, because one way that higher level players think about this is we think of stepping Brian's small Tekken one direction and his big Tekken the other way. The big counter hit moves, you go right. Small Tekken, you generally go left. However, he has this exception, right? So already... was that homing? Oh, they made this low homing. So this is a great buff for Brian. I believe you could walk it to the left before. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so every character will have built-in exceptions, even when you do consider this movesets and threats, not just the general character. So as a new player, you run the risk of getting really confused, getting kind of stuck. But if you take a proactive learning process and kind of really analyze what's getting you hit and go to practice more often, these can be a good starter. The last thing I'll say, because this video has gone on for quite a minute, and I appreciate you sticking around if you have, if you're dead serious about tournaments, like you want to win tournaments or like place, I recommend labbing every character's moves and building up that holistic view, right? This is very extreme. The vast majority of players are not trying to do this. And even when I was learning the game in Tekken Tag 2, I didn't do this, okay? I used a sidestep chart, and throughout my development in Tekken 7, I forgot that how effective that was when you're just getting started and kind of enjoying the game like serious casually. There's such a thing as like, you know, I'm not going to go pro, I'm not going to win tournaments, but I do want to take this game kind of seriously. Sidestepping works for that. I think that, or sidestep charts work for that. The only reason to be cautious, I think, and that was my fault for insisting everybody follow this method, is if you're dead serious on tournament performance. And in that case, it's good to go through each move, look at different frame situations, and really understand what a character can threaten you with at different spacings and timings. And what your answers are, right? And the reason that's so useful is because you can start to develop really robust strategies for getting around different moves without getting like pigeonholed into some bad muscle memory or bad ways of thinking. If you follow the sidestep chart and you decide you want to be a super serious tournament player, you will have to undo some learning. And that's the hard part. But ultimately, I think that sidestep charts are a good thing. I think that they serve the vast majority of the community. And if you're a competitive player, you have to remember that Tekken is not all competitive players. There are a lot of people who just want to log on and, you know, take it kind of seriously, like going to a martial arts class on the weekend, you know, it doesn't have to be dead serious to still be beneficial. There's like a spectrum, right? So sidestep charts are good. I was wrong about that. I'm going to link this sidestep chart below. This is GreekGod88 on Twitter. Give him a follow if you enjoy this kind of content. And just also saying a sidewalk left, okay? Remember that. If you enjoy this kind of content, please leave me a like. Let me know in the comments if I missed something or if you have any questions. If you have nothing to comment, leave an emoji. That helps me out a ton. And subscribe if you want to see more. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.